I brought this up last time I spoke to you that I really became a fan of yours during Sex and Religion. The Vai release.
Of course.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And I think a lot of people were introduced to you via that album and via that time. Do you keep in touch with Steve Vai at all?
Yeah, he was just at my house for a week and a half.
Oh, you're kidding, really?
No, we have a good relationship, and he's involved with the Moth, and he's a very important person in my life for a lot of reasons. But after so many years, we can be honest with each other too. And I think that where a lot of times collaborative efforts fall apart is everybody has to pussyfoot around each other. Like specifically if you're both even reasonably accomplished in terms of putting out material, a lot of times collaborations with other musicians end up, everybody's very, very careful with each other's ideas, like as opposed to saying, hey, no, I'll listen to the idea and I appreciate it, but it's not for me. I don't like it, right? Sometimes that falls apart with people that don't have these more long-term relationships. And Steve and I now are in a position where when we do get together and we do jam and we do talk about concepts, we can vet each other's ideas from a place of more objective creative analysis. And I value that greatly, specifically with somebody who, again, is so accomplished, right? It's a great experience.
So would you ever consider actually collaborating and working with Steve again on anything?
Yeah, he was just here. We're collaborating on the Moth.
I love that, man. That's so great. I mean, essentially, Vai came out back in the 90s, and the fact that you guys still are being able to maintain that relationship till today, it speaks volumes, right? So that's very cool.
Yeah, and I also think what's important about that as well is the reason why we're able to still communicate is because we've gone through difficult periods, right? And what is another quote that I loved was that progress is only an awkward conversation away, and I think that I think that if you're in a position with somebody, if you're fortunate enough to be in a position with somebody where you can have those difficult conversations, then that's where real music is going to come from. Where it isn't, because I often, you get asked these questions when you're younger, like, oh, could you describe what a dream band would be like? Like, oh, okay, Jimi Hendrix on guitar, John Bonham on drum, you know what
right.
I mean? You go through all this shit. But you think to yourself, maybe the reason that those players were so fantastic is because of the environments that they found themselves in. Like maybe the reason why Jimi Hendrix's brilliance came out is because he didn't have to answer to anybody. He just had the other two players in his band, and perhaps if you did put him into a band, maybe his social anxiety would make it that, the other guitar player, maybe Jimmy Page or whatever, would just like steamroll him. And then by the time you're done, you get this super group album that's not as good as any of them individually.
True.
And I think a lot of the reason why that happens is the dynamic has to be established. And if you're fortunate enough to be with musicians for many years, then that dynamic, you've worked through the arguments, you've worked through the fuck this guy or the romance period even. And then at that point, when someone has an idea, you're best suited to listen to it, because why would they say it other than this person who's brilliant has a good idea, or an idea at least. And that's where we find ourselves. And that's also where I find myself with Mike Keneally, for example, who is also just here, and a bunch of other collaborators that I work with. We've worked through these moments that we can be honest with each other about the music.
That's fantastic, man. Now, I got to ask, as a fan, when can we expect to hear some of this material that you've been working on with Steve?
Well, I think it's a work in progress in that what we're working on together with the Moth is rooted in something that I've already written. So when he comes here, a lot of it is just like, he has ideas. He's like, what if we tried this? What if the chorus was doubled? Things like that. So in an immediate sense, the Moth, the performances that we start with, because we're doing performances of it with the orchestra prior to the record coming out, happens in March of 2025.
Okay.
But then where it evolves with Steve and I guess the thing that is frustrating to some of the audience is I personally am in no rush with any of these things.
Sure.
So the honest answer is when it's ready, it'll be out. And what plays into when that is just everybody's so busy, right? Like there's no direct plans, but it's already in the process. If that's a cop out of an answer, but it's an answer nonetheless.